On July 12, an article titled "Computer Chips Face Toilet Paper Hoarding Moment as Shortage Turns to Glut" predicted that the global semiconductor market has quietly exited the golden period that lasted for more than 2 years and is heading for stagflation and even glut. Like nervous shoppers raiding supermarket aisles for toilet paper ahead of a COVID-19 lockdown, manufacturers stockpiled chips during the pandemic. The author of the article looks forward to the future in such a pessimistic tone. Between 2020 and 2021, the global semiconductor industry once seemed to return to its heyday in the early 1990s. In 2020, when the global economy was severely impacted by COVID-19, and almost all industries except the medical industry were in a state of decline, the profit of the semiconductor industry increased by 11% against the trend. By 2021, the growth will exceed 25%. However, the good days will come to an abrupt end in mid-2022. Analysts in Europe and the US attribute the main problem to a shift in public consumption attitudes in the post-pandemic era and the complete end of national subsidy policies. After all, the recent wave of consumer electronics boom started from April to May 2020, before and after the introduction of national epidemic blockade policies, and reached a climax when the United States and Europe were distributing money to deal with the economic contraction. However, this is only half reason for the problem. As for the other half, from China, the world's largest OEM equipment production center, the demand for imported semiconductor components has dropped sharply. First of all, there is an extremely stupid question, which I must answer head-on. Why does China carry out such a huge industrial upgrade to threaten the interests of the United States and its developed country allies? Someone once calculated that if a country mainly relies on the cultivation of cashew nuts and cocoa beans for its industry, the upper limit of its per capita GDP is about $800. If it can go a step further, it can step into the threshold of manufacturing with half a foot, and sew t-shirts, jackets and the like for foreign supermarkets. Then the upper limit of per capita GDP can be raised to about $1,500. If you want to go further than the above, then you have to master the basic fabric production, have a certain hardware processing ability, can solve simple clothing metal accessories, zippers, etc., and then turn to provide OEM services for those world-renowned specialty stores and brand clothing. Once this step is achieved, the upper limit of per capita GDP can be touched around $2,500. If your country is still not satisfied with the above, and strives to master the processing technology of some auto parts, and at the same time undertakes the production of many electromechanical parts around the world, then the upper limit of GDP can be further rushed to $5,000. Going up, you need to basically get a whole industry chain. For example, while providing OEM for the global consumer electronics industry, most of the components are produced locally. Do this, and you can cap your GDP per capita at the iconic $10,000. But that's the end of it. Because if you want to move further up, you must try to establish a brand that belongs to your own country, complete the import substitution of most commodities on the market through long-term industrial planning, and then move towards semiconductor and vehicle manufacturing, aerospace that make the most money. And once you have the opportunity to step up to those higher levels, the output will no longer be those substances whose real value can be simply measured: high-end luxury goods, higher education diplomas, entertainment products, and even values. At this time, you will have the opportunity to no longer use the dollar, but to use your own currency to measure these values created by yourself, and even the currency you use has the candidacy to become the world currency. With China's vastness and huge population, if Chinese don't make every effort at this moment, I am afraid that the future Chinese descendants will not have the opportunity to go back to the foundry to make mobile phones. So, how did China upgrade the semiconductor industry? According to US media statistics, in the first 7 months of this year, China's chip imports showed a steady downward trend, with a total reduction of 43 billion chips. In contrast, it is the continuous growth of domestic chip production capacity in mainland China. The production capacity is converted based on the total number of wafer factories that have been put into operation in mainland China. As of July this year, the converted daily semiconductor production capacity has exceeded 1 billion pieces. Last year, that number was just over 850 million. On the one hand, it is the linear growth of local supply, and on the other hand, it is the inventory habit formed in the golden era of the previous 2 years, which has led to the price drop of most semiconductor products since June this year. In the post-COVID-19 era, rapid market ebb and flow is the norm. Even the gradual increase in semiconductor production in mainland China is not enough to change the rules of the market, because this is what has been happening in recent years. But there is one variable that is accumulating that has the potential to completely overturn the existing global industry landscape. That is, China is no longer limited to low-end products. For a long time, STMicroelectronics, Infineon, etc. in Europe have been occupying the dominant position in the automotive chip industry for a long time. However, in recent years, its industry status and market share have been strongly impacted by Chinese semiconductor companies. STMicroelectronics, which has been leading the industry for a long time with its BCD, bipolar CMOS, process, is facing even more trouble. Because not long ago, news came out from SMIC's 2022 semi-annual report that its 55 nanometers process BCD process has matured, and the yield rate has increased to the threshold for large-scale commercial use. The once proud technology of STMicroelectronics is still based on the 90 nanometers process technology. There is no doubt that this breakthrough by SMIC will likely fundamentally change the pattern of this field. As the largest industrial country and a well-deserved global manufacturing center, China used to be the world's largest purchaser of semiconductor devices. Throughout 2021, orders from Chinese companies have absorbed more than 60% of the global chip market's production capacity. And when the United States persisted in taking measures to curb China's semiconductor industry, China, which was forced to become independent in its chips, was bound to do everything it could to strengthen its local wafer production capacity and steadily reduce foreign chip purchases. The problem of a surplus in the semiconductor industry is just one of the consequences of the above. So, what is the driving force behind China's expansion of production capacity against the market? Capital is quite predictable for the next round of excess global semiconductor production capacity. However, this does not contradict the continued expansion of its semiconductor production capacity, because these new production capacities are basically concentrated in mainland China. Looking at the world, the contrarian development of China's semiconductor industry, especially wafer processing, is an isolated case that has never occurred in the history of global market development. Among them, there is indeed a profound influence of the Chinese government's industrial regulation, but the deeper reason is the increasingly paranoid anti-China policy of the United States in recent years. In this context, China must establish a controllable semiconductor industry chain locally, whether for national security considerations or economic development. Okay, that's all for today. Please put your comments below and share your insightful ideas. Please keep following our channel and like our videos. I am Tech Teller, the person to tell you the opinions that worth spreading every day. Thank you so much for your continuous support. Your precious time with us is highly appreciated. See you.